In 2026, Donald Trump is facing a challenge that could bring his administration to an abrupt end, but it's not coming from the Democrats this time. Instead, Republicans are stepping up, joining forces with the opposition to stop his dangerous push for control over Greenland. But this isn't just about Greenland. It's about NATO, the cornerstone of global security for over 70 years. So why is this happening now? And what could it mean for the future of the U.S. and its allies? Stick around, because what happens next could change everything. It started with a shocking shift. Republicans, usually in lockstep with Trump, are now standing up to him. They're teaming up with Democrats to prevent a potential military conflict with NATO over Greenland. On the surface, it might seem like a minor diplomatic spat, but dig deeper, and this reveals a much bigger issue. Why would a Republican bill introduced by a seasoned conservative like Don Bacon target federal funding to stop military action in Greenland? What does it signal about Trump's relationship with NATO and, more importantly, about the future of U.S. foreign policy? And could this challenge be the first sign of a tectonic shift in American politics? It's a question worth exploring. The reality is sinking in. Trump's escalating threats towards Greenland are no longer just political bluffs. Republican lawmakers are terrified. A bill titled Stop the Funding of the NATO Invasion Act has officially been introduced, and it's gaining serious traction. Don Bacon, a key Republican voice, didn't just join this effort on a whim. He's terrified of what's coming. Republicans have always followed the money, and this time it's no different. The bill targets federal funds, cutting off any military action in Greenland, making it illegal for Trump to pursue his plans without congressional approval. But here's the part no one is saying out loud. This bill doesn't just restrict money. It sends a message that even military officers who follow Trump's orders could face criminal consequences. And that's where it gets real. But the situation is only getting more intense. This isn't just about Greenland. It's about the unraveling of a global alliance that has kept the peace for decades. NATO has been the cornerstone of American diplomacy since World War II, but Trump's threats are shaking that foundation. In a world where alliances are tested, what happens when a sitting U.S. president begins to challenge the very alliances that have kept this country safe? This is a dangerous game, and it's not the first time we've seen this playbook. Remember, when Trump mocked the EU and NATO in the past, it was easy to dismiss. But now, Republicans are no longer standing by. This isn't a game anymore. It's a high-stakes geopolitical crisis. And here's the kicker. Other countries are watching. They see this weakening of NATO as a sign of American instability. This isn't just a Trump problem. This could signal a new era for global power. Now, the stakes get even higher. While Trump's rhetoric on Greenland and NATO might seem extreme, it's backed by actions that could have global consequences. Just look at the contradiction unfolding. Republicans like Don Bacon are fighting to stop military action, yet Trump's team, including figures like Stephen Miller, continue to push the narrative that NATO is obsolete. It's an ideology that's clashing violently with the reality of international politics. And here's the real twist. The military itself is caught in the middle. The Pentagon is now investigating whether military officers can be ordered to invade Greenland. And if this bill passes, any officer following those orders would be committing an unlawful act. This is where the story flips. What if, in trying to assert power, Trump is actually creating a military rebellion against his own orders? If that happens, it changes everything. Things are escalating faster than anyone could have imagined. First, a bill in the House to stop military action in Greenland. Then, bipartisan support from both Republicans and Democrats, something rarely seen in today's polarized politics. Add to that the Pentagon's investigation into unlawful military orders, and you've got a perfect storm brewing. But it doesn't stop there. Now, the Senate is working on a bill to limit presidential war powers, requiring congressional approval for military action in Venezuela. These developments are stacking up, and they're making one thing clear: America is on the verge of a breaking point. The system is fighting back against a president who seems determined to dismantle decades of international diplomacy. What happens if this continues? Will the U.S. find itself isolated, surrounded by enemies, and divided at home? Now, let's shift gears and focus on you, the ordinary citizen. It's easy to get lost in the headlines and think of this as just a political spectacle. But what happens when these high-level tensions trickle down? The consequences of a fractured NATO and a fractured U.S. foreign policy won't just affect military strategy. They'll hit home in ways you might not expect. Think about it. American allies could begin distancing themselves, trade relationships could fray, and the ripple effect could lead to economic instability. And for everyday Americans, rising tensions could mean more uncertainty in your job, your savings, your future. You don't need to be a political expert to feel it. These global shifts have a direct impact on your day-to-day life. If this feels familiar, say so in the comments, because this is more than just politics. This is personal. But let's take a step back. What's really happening here? It's easy to get caught up in the chaos, but there's something deeper at play. This isn't just about Trump. This isn't even just about Greenland or NATO. It's about the systems of power that allow something like this to happen in the first place. It's about leverage, spectacle, and fear. Trump's actions have been a wake-up call, a reminder that in politics, it's not just about doing what's right, it's about what you can get away with. The military's role, Congress's hesitation, the media's focus, all of it plays into a larger game where power is slowly but surely being shifted away from traditional alliances. And that's a chilling thought, because if the world's most powerful military can't even rely on its allies, how far can it go before it's too late? Now let's look ahead. The question on everyone's mind, what's next? There are two paths that could unfold from here. The first is that this bill succeeds and Trump is forced to abandon his military ambitions in Greenland. NATO stays intact and the world breathes a sigh of relief. But here's the catch. This doesn't solve the larger issue. If Trump is pushed back now, what's stopping him from trying again later with a different target, a different approach? The second path is more dangerous. If the bill fails and Trump goes forward with his plans, we could see NATO's collapse in real time. A fractured alliance could lead to a breakdown in global order. And that's not just a nightmare scenario, it's already unfolding. The next few months could determine whether the U.S. remains a leader on the world stage or if we're witnessing the beginning of the end for American influence abroad. In the end, it all comes down to one undeniable truth. The global balance is shifting, and America's place in it is in jeopardy. Trump's reckless moves from Greenland to NATO are more than just political stunts. They're a calculated attempt to tear down the very alliances that have protected this country for decades. If this trend continues, the world will never be the same. So what happens next? Only time will tell, but one thing is for sure. This isn't over. And if you want to stay ahead of the curve, keep following this channel. We'll be right here breaking down every twist and turn. Don't miss the next chapter.